With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got actress and singer Kaelen Ohm with me. So welcome, Kaelen.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been watching you on From, and it did not get any easier this season compared to last season.
No, it certainly did not. And I don't think there's any plans to. I could be wrong, but
Do you know what's going on?
I mean, on a deeper level of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's interesting because my family's been watching and my brother-in-law has been thinking about it. And I realize I haven't even considered myself.
Well, what's he think?
I'm trying to even remember. I think he sort of thought that there's a bit of a simulation going on and it's sort of like a game. There's outside eyes on the whole thing, and it's about like maybe who figures it out or something like that. I think I realized that I've been in Marielle's head and I'm as far as where I'm at in the story. I'm just and I don't have much bandwidth for thinking about anything other than my immediate circumstances. So maybe in the future, you know. Yeah. I mean,
that could be a good thing. It's one of those that I want to know the answer, but I'm enjoying the ride. So I'll try to be patient. But it does feel like there's a presence there, or somebody's watching. You know, somebody knows.
Yeah, I mean, I think the voice on the radio in season 1 is a massive one. That was almost the scariest part for me of watching season 1, to be honest.
Yeah, it was creepy.
Monsters and people of other dimensions or beings of other dimensions are not as terrifying to me as conscious humans doing very disturbing things. So we don't get any information about where this is going, really, like little hints, but the writers keep us on our toes.
Yeah, that's
good.
Know,
just as much as the audience is. And yeah, it is cool for sure. I think sometimes we just get frustrated because obviously no one is safe in this show, so we're just like, hey, am I dying soon or not?
Coming back next week.
Yeah, I think they're our team is really I think kind about that, as I've heard. No one's gonna just get a script in their inbox and suddenly come upon page 32, you're done. I think they give you a warning.
We had Chloe on right after season 1, and she was very excited with the possibility of this love triangle taking shape with you showing up this season. So she was hoping that that's what would happen, is that her love interest would show up, and then it'd be kind of this messy situation because she'd made a connection with Kenny.
Yeah, well, I think what's beautiful about this town is that given the circumstances of the show, everyone kind of has to fend for each other no matter what.
Yeah.
There's going to be, heads clashing and personalities clashing and different viewpoints and all of that. But at the end of the day, we have to have each other. And it'll be interesting to see how this dynamic unfolds, but I think there's just so much empathy and understanding, and Kenny as a character, and then also Ricky as a human. Yeah. There's just so much beauty there, and so
he's such a good actor.
He's amazing, and I mean everyone on the show to me is amazing. But what I think is so great about this is it didn't immediately become this obvious sort of you know, I'm here to break them up
Right.
and he's jealous and we're at each other. You know, it's something a lot more deeper than that in terms of everything that's going on. And so I appreciate it, and I don't know where it's going, but I'm super curious.
I like it that it's the way that it's written is they kind of let it unfold like it might. You know, if this was actually happening, that might be how it would go. It's like you can tell everybody's got their feelings they're kind of going through, but they're dealing with these bigger issues. So they haven't so far haven't really sat down to hash it out yet. You know, they're just
Mm-hmm.
kind of it's kind of a slow build, you know, whereas an audience, we're like, you know, let's get this resolved. Let's figure out who's with who. Let's get it resolved. But it's they're you
I
know
mean, you
they're
wouldn't have a
keeping going.
show if you did that, right?
I know. The show'd be over already.
Exactly. Well, that's what I love so much about our show, especially in the horror genre, is that it's so different in that the human relationships are more or less the focal point. And I think it speaks to the genius of John Griffin and Jeff Pinkner, our writers, where there's just so much depth to all these people and to their relationships. And I think why people love the show so much is because it's relatable. It feels like life. We don't walk through life having conversations at every turn when things get sticky.
Right.
You know, things build up and they get left alone and life happens. And then maybe at some point you turn a corner and you know, blast at someone because you've been holding in all these feelings. And that's kind of what happens, as well as having all of these circumstances that make all of these life um, events feel 10 times more difficult than usual.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you a Lost fan?
You know what? I want to say like, yeah, totally, because you know, our amazing were a part of that show. I watched some of the first season, and I
Yeah.
think it was one of those things where by the time I had heard about it, um, and where it was TV was available, I've never had network television
Oh yeah.
in my life, even growing up. So I think when I became an adult, it was just not second
I
nature
mean,
for me to get
that's
TV.
an accomplishment. Not
Yeah,
many
it
can
is.
say that they've never had network TV.
Yeah, yeah, I never have. And so it was only when streaming came along, and I remember when Game of Thrones came out,
Yeah.
I think it was 5 or 6 seasons deep before I started watching. And I know the kind of commitment you need to catch up on that much material.
Right.
So, but by the time Lost even came into my sphere, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get to this. It's kind of similar to a lot of shows that I feel um, a little bit ashamed for having not watched, but it's actually been on my mind. I think that if I get a period of time in my life coming up, I think I'm going to do it because I've heard it's amazing. I mean, it kind of was
Oh, yeah.
it initiated this kind of um, you know, streaming type shows, these sort of binge worthy type shows, I think, did it not?
Yeah, it really, I think it did as well. And of course, Game of Thrones helped along with that too when it came out. But Lost really was one of the original ones that everybody wanted to binge because it was such a weird mystery type of show. Nobody knew what was going on. I'm not sure anybody knows what happened even after watching them. You know, there's a lot of different opinions on that. We've had some of the
Yeah.
Lost cast on the show, and
Hmm.
they've given their opinions, but every single one of them had a different opinion about how.
Yeah. Well, it's
I think
interesting
that
with
makes a good show.
yeah, well, it's interesting with shows that are so incredible in their arc. It's like, how do you finish it perfectly? You know
Oh,
what I
it's
mean? The
tough.
same as Game of Thrones, like so many people were upset about it, but what is the perfect ending? How,
Well,
you
on
know,
Game of Thrones, I would say you let the guy that wrote 90% of it finish it,
right?
and then maybe that would help. But they were in a bad situation because you can only wait for so long, and then you gotta commit. You gotta kind of finish it up. You can't just let it, you know, that last season sit forever. And I don't think it
Hmm.
was nearly as bad as what a lot of people thought. I think it was just rushed. You know, we needed
Right.
more than 6 episodes in that last season to tell that final story. But you
Yeah.
know, it was still worth the journey.
It was incredible.
Did you finish it?
100%. I did. Yeah,
How'd you
absolutely.
do with the Red Wedding?
That was the most shocking moment in television I've ever seen in my life. And we
I
actually
was,
kept I we kept questioning um well, I won't say too much because I don't know when this is coming out and I know we're only at episode 4. But I remember just being beside myself. It was such a brilliant moment to think that you can make such a bold move without any warning and be able to make sense of it afterward, you know? It
oh
was
yeah.
pretty
I
incredible for sure.
I was a big fan of the books, so I knew
Mm.
what was coming, and I really enjoyed watching the reactions of family members that hadn't read the books because I knew what was coming. They had no.
Right.
It was the best.
Yeah, no, crazy. Especially when you take one of the most lovable characters and do that, you know, it's just like
When I
very
read
bold.
it, like in the book when Robb Stark dies, I had to put the book down for like 3 weeks. I was so upset because he was my favorite character, and it
Yeah,
just
he's
it just
beautiful.
really hit me hard. I was like, I don't know if I can finish it, and eventually I got
Yeah,
back to it and it was great, but it took me a couple.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's cool when shows come out like that, and also when you see sort of the careers of the actors involved, the whole entity grows
yeah.
together and becomes this whole moment in time, which is a special thing when it happens.
All right, so we froze up for just a second, but now we're
We're
back,
back. We're back.
better
Yeah.
than ever.
Clearer, hopefully, than ever before.
Yeah, hopefully that straightened technology. It's
Yeah.
great when it works,
Yeah.
not the best when it's struggling. So let's back up a little bit and let's start this way because I think you've had kind of an interesting journey in the entertainment business. So let's talk about that a little bit. What got you interested in becoming an actress? I know you've also got the music side too. What kind of got you into the entertainment business?
Um, I don't know what struck it specifically. I'm from a small mountain town in Canada, and I guess I told my parents when I was like 2 or 3 that I wanted to do this thing, and maybe I had seen a drive-in movie once or something like that. So there was something in me somewhere that I think was drawn to performance in the arts. I grew up really playing sports and hiking and skiing and all of that.
What was your sport?
I played a bit of everything because in a small town you kind of have short seasons for everything. So you'd have volleyball, then basketball, then soccer, then track and field, and I danced on the side and did competitive track and ski racing and baseball. Like it was kind of
Yeah,
everything. Yeah,
yeah.
and then I kind of just did a full pivot and went to film school, and um, I I was looking into acting schools, and I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I did drama in high school. Um, but I had had a ski injury when I was a 15-year-old, and that really changed my trajectory with dance. And I think that I knew that acting really relied so much on your physical um, form as well. So I thought that going to film school and having a backup in filmmaking would be a really good idea. I also
That's
was
smart.
really interested in the idea of directing and creating. So I went to film school. I kind of took off on this directing, editing, producing career, and thought about acting probably every day of my life and put myself in a couple of the music videos I directed and everything. And then I think I started eventually thinking, okay, well, I better start doing this now because I'm already well into my 20s and this is a very late start to begin with. And then in 2015, I kind of put everything aside, moved to Toronto, and just put myself in all of these boutique classes, and eventually ended up at the Canadian Film Center for a conservatory program, and then things sort of started to move a little bit. But I haven't really had anyone in my direct family who um, has been in the arts for a living. I have some extended cousins on my dad's side who are all artists, but I've kind of had to pave the way for myself
Yeah.
which probably inevitably has made it all a little bit slow and um, misdirected at times. I think that sometimes, you know, especially if you grow up in a big city like LA or New York, or you at least have access to those places right after high school, you can just go and jump in and do the thing. But I really was coming from this totally different world,
Yeah.
and have just kind of been figuring it out as I go. And I don't, you know, I kind of still feel like I'm doing that with music and with and with film. With acting, it's the one part of what I do where I have a really supportive team of people in different places, and so I kind of just get to be the actor and do, you know, show up for the interviews and show up on set, which is amazing because with filmmaking and with music, it's wearing way too many hats
I
all
was
the
gonna say
time.
you gotta wear a lot of hats for that.
Yeah, I'm getting too old for this. I'm ready to I'm ready to bring on support all across the board because it's a lot for sure.
Yeah.
But I think also independent music is like that. You talk to any independent bands that kind of came up, you know, likely without a label for a long time, and you're doing everything. You know, you're booking shows, you may be making the videos, and if you're in Canada, you might be writing the grants and reporting on the grants and making the budgets. It's just like endless. And there's no such thing as just, you know, being a musician.
No,
Um,
I've always heard it's kind of changed because a lot of musicians now are going kind of more the independent route, and it's so much
mm,
more hands on because you don't really have
yeah.
anybody guiding you.
Yeah, it's true. I think, especially in the past few years, the music industry in particular has changed so much. I don't even know the half of it. And I think I have a really good team of folks who are helping me put out the record I'm putting out this summer. And I was talking to one of them yesterday, and he was telling me how things have shifted in the streaming world and playlist wise. And I'm just like, wow, I can't even keep up. But I do know of some folks who, you know, left labels to do their own thing because the role of everyone is changing. And I think that's also happening in film right now, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and post pandemic and AI and how everything, the attention economy that we're in, it just requires everyone to be on their toes. And it's hard when you just kind of want to make art and have people hear it or see it and maybe make a living off of it, you know?
The making part's actually the easier part. Getting people to see
Yeah.
it, that's the really difficult part.
Yeah, that's kind of where I feel maybe I've I don't even know what to say about it. Like it's the part of my career that has always been most exhausting for me. I really do it for the process. I do it to be on set and make things. I do it to be in
Yeah.
the studio to make music. And when it comes time to putting it out, it's, you know, it's a whole set of skill that people have a whole career for, and to have to do it on your own, it's super exhausting, and it just takes a lot of effort and time and resource that often independent artists don't even have. So yeah, you know, it's a bit of a mysterious world getting things out there. And I think sometimes I don't think there's a template. I think that sometimes things hit, you know, the streets and
Sometimes
it
it's just luck.
just
You just the
goes.
timing's right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what makes for a thing of the moment, but you just keep doing what you love, and if it happens, great. If not, fine. You just, as long as you love what you're doing and you're able to do it, I think that's, it really is the most important thing, well, at least for me, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I grew up in a small mountain town as well. Still live
Mm.
here with that, and it's funny because if you go back for like high school reunions, you're you participate in like every single activity they have going on. Because in a small town, you got to play like every sport. You got to be in band. You know, anything going on, you're involved in because the classes are so small. So then
Yeah.
you go back to reunions and everybody is doing everything. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, totally.
What's the album named?
The record's called Child of Venus.
Oh,
It's out July 7th for my project AMAARA. which is spelled AMAARA. It's my middle name, but with an extra A in the middle.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Thanks. Yeah, actually, the first single comes out in a week from today, May 23rd, with a video. I'm super excited to finally
I
share
love
it.
that all your songs have videos, and you've got a fantastic voice, but you're really talented with the video side of it too.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I love doing it. It's directing is definitely something I want to still keep doing in my life. And now that acting's kind of moving a little bit, I'm starting to think about stepping back into that place. But if we get to go back to work, if they can support the writers. And
do you have plans at some point to like tour or do some live shows?
I would love to. I haven't played a show since 2018, I think. So it's been a long time. That's a whole other, beast as well that takes so much work. So I think if I'd like to play some shows if I can, and especially if there becomes a demand for it, I'll definitely do that.
I think there might be, because your voice is really good, which doesn't always mean anything, but the songs are really good. So, it plays. It's
thanks.
really good. But I love the videos because it's almost watching like a little movie or a little episode of a TV show. They're really well done.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks. I think the music video platform has always been a place for me to practice narrative filmmaking to a degree. And in some ways lately I've been like, just make a music video. It can be a montage. It doesn't need to be this whole saga of like
it can
a
be
story,
as simple or as difficult as you want it.
It's true. Yeah, absolutely. But I really do love doing it. It's so much fun. And
I'm kind of glad that videos are making a comeback. I like that, because there for a while nobody was making them, and now everybody seems to be going back into that. I love that because it's, I grew up in the 80s when MTV and some of those hit. So it was all new back then. So I'm kind of excited that we're getting back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. When music videos had real budgets and real audiences and people behind it. Now it's like, oh, you're a huge band. You have $5,000 to make a video. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know, it's so weird. It's so weird, but it's, my wife works for Live Nation and has for a couple of decades. And so I've got to kind of watch the music industry change, over the last 20 years or so, just kind of through her work. But it's kind of interesting because it's so different. It's just like when my wife and I met, we were both working for a Ticketmaster call center. And at that time, I was in charge of the sales floor. Well, there wasn't any internet back then. So we had 700-800 agents, to take ticket sales. You called in and you bought your tickets. So there we had this huge staff agents. Then the internet comes along and most of that moves to online. So then instead of 800 salespeople, then you've got like 800 customer service people, to fix all the issues that show up because of the internet. But your sales force might be 20 people. It was just interesting. Within a couple of years, it completely changed how we're doing, and it's still changing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't envy you navigating that because it seems difficult. Thank goodness you got the acting side too, because the music side can be difficult to navigate and to find an audience. Although if you put out good videos and you're a good singer, you got a lot better chances,
yeah. The guy I was talking to yesterday said there used to be something like 5,000 songs a day that would go up on Spotify, and now it's like over 100,000 a day.
Wow.
So just even,
I thought
it's like the
5,000 sounded like
volume is monstrous. I know, it's crazy.
It's kind of like it's similar to podcasting in that getting an audience for your podcast is so difficult because there's millions of podcasts out
there. Yeah, there's so much good material out there. It's really true.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like a great time. Same thing with television. There's so many good things to watch, but there's also too many good things to watch. You can't watch them all.
It's very true.
Yeah, you got to be very selective. So I think, I may be wrong, but I think the first time I remember seeing you was you made that little appearance on Hell on Wheels.
Oh, yeah, that was my first That was my first acting role for sure.
I
They
didn't
cut me a
realize
single
that that
line.
was your first role until I was kind of researching this, but that's what I remembered seeing you in first. So it doesn't surprise me because it seems like that show was just out, but it's been a while since that show was out.
That was 10 years ago, actually. And that
Yeah.
was even before I had started really pursuing acting. I was still living in Calgary and playing in a lot of bands and making a lot of videos. And I got this little actor role, one line, which they cut, one word, actually,
Of
which they
course.
cut, which was no. Yeah.
Well, you
But
got to
at
save
least,
time. We don't have time for a no.
no, exactly, precisely. But I think that it gave me just sort of this, probably the push to say,
Yeah.
well, you know, there's just not the volume coming through the city at this time to be able to get enough auditions. So you got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been lucky, I guess, considering.
Well, enjoyed you on Condor. I thought you were really good on that, and you did the Canadian version of like NCIS and Law and Order because you were on Murdoch Mysteries, and I think that's like if you're Canadian, it's like a rule you have to make an appearance on that show.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you're a Toronto actor, you got to have that on your resume for sure.
I mean, it's been out for what, like 20 years? It seems like it's been out for a while.
I think I was on season 12 when we did it, and that was quite a few years ago, and it's still going. It's amazing. Gotta have those staples, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's why if you were here in the States, it'd probably be Law and Order, NCIS, depending on what coast you were on. But
Right.
same thing. You know, if you're in New York, you're probably going to be on Law and Order at some.
Yeah, which is, yeah, Murdoch Mysteries is an interesting show. It's sort of that period show, and
Yeah.
it's great though. It's
It's
cool
a
that
good
it's still
show, or
running.
else it wouldn't be on still.
True. Absolutely.
You know, it's pretty good. And then I didn't even realize there was a Taken TV show.
Hmm.
Yeah, see, I didn't realize that. I saw it and I was like, well, it must be the movie. And I was like, no, it says TV show, but you made an appearance on there.
Yeah, all brief stints, you know, resume building gigs,
Mhm.
but I'm grateful for them.
That's
And
what
there's a
you
lot of
do when
great,
you start out.
totally. Yeah. All those shows, really great shows that come through Toronto. It's a nice place to be when you're starting out for sure.
Was Hit and Run, was that more the bigger step, you know, the first time you'd really stepped into more of a lead role?
Yeah, that was a big thing that happened. That was a moment for my team and I. I didn't have any American agents at the time, and I just kind of joined my team earlier that year. And it was, yeah, it was huge. It was an interesting story, a long story, probably
Yeah, it
too
was
long to
good.
tell you right now, but just how I got the role is just one of those
Oh yeah.
memorable experiences, you know, like a lost tape and a folder, and then the casting director just being like, I should check that folder for the end of the day, and all these
See,
little
that means it
things.
was meant to be.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I try to believe that in a sense that whatever roles I'm going to do in my life are already written, so I don't have to stress, even though I still do, because
If
that's
you're
what
meant to
actors do.
get them, you'll get them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how did the role for From come about? Was that just a straight audition or did somebody reach out to you?
Yeah, I had actually auditioned for season one,
Okay.
for Tabitha's role. And when the audition for season two came through, I was like, oh, I recognize this. And I searched my email and I was like, oh yeah, that show. And then I went and saw the trailer for the first season because I'd completely forgotten about it. And I sent in a tape for Marielle's character, and I
Yeah.
think it was like a week later or something. They wanted me to meet with Jack Bender, our director, over Zoom, and we did a little reading and chatted for a bit. And um, yeah, it came through sort of 36 hours before I was supposed to fly from LA to Halifax. I had one day to pack up my whole house and put it in storage and go back to Canada.
Life of
But
an actor.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, best moments when those things happen. And yeah, so it's sort of like a fairly traditional trajectory, I suppose, in terms of getting a job, but it happened pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Did you and Chloe hit it off right away? Or was that something you had to kind of work on as the season went?
No, it was really effortless for us. I mean, you've met Chloe. She's
Oh yeah,
a
she's awesome.
super warm-hearted, awesome
Yeah.
human. So we had a Zoom call. I think she was really stressed out about finding out who was going to be playing this person. So the night before I was flying there, we had a Zoom call, and yeah, it was just great from the beginning, and it seems to be working on screen. It's hard to say
No, you
that
can. It
from,
definitely seems like there's chemistry there. Like you can feel the tension
yeah,
because like if you were separated like that and you had no idea what happened to somebody, you assumed that they were dead, and then you ran back into them. How would you react? How would any of us?
yeah, very
You know?
complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been a blast, and things just continue to unfold with this story and with us, and yeah, I'll have to see where it goes towards the end of the season.
I like that it's just a one episode a week show because I mean binging's great, but you miss the kind of getting to dissect each episode and talk about it and kind of try to guess what's coming next. If you're binging, you just watch it all at one time and you're done, which it's great,
Yeah,
but then it's over. I kind of like
yeah,
the week to week thing because it makes you kind of anticipate the next episode.
yeah, and so much work goes into an hour of television. It's nice that it's given a bit of a pause to be sat with, when you think
Yeah,
about like binging 10 hours of The Crown and how much goes into making a show like that. It's wow, can we give it a second? Just
I
hold
know
the
you're done in a
situation.
weekend, and then
Yeah,
and then you
because
move
it's
on to
so
the next.
good,
Oh, it's excellent.
but yeah, it's an interesting thing about streaming, and I think you do miss a lot of important information for sure. Although the fans of From, I think, are super duper fans, and I'm sure some of them have gone through more than once.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's that type of show that builds kind of a cult following. People love to try to guess what's actually happening, but it's been really good. Like a lot of times, those type of shows after the first season they kind of fall off because it's hard
Hmm.
to kind of keep that story going. But it hasn't done that. It's picked right back up. Maybe even made it a little more tense with all the new people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A lot
Yeah,
of additions for this season.
out of addition.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, the only way that it'll upset me is if somebody just sits up in bed and the whole thing was a dream. I'll be like, no.
I think we've got better writers behind this one.
I think I think so
Yeah,
too.
for sure. I
I
know
don't
for
think we're
us.
going to run into that. I'd be
No,
like,
I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it will be shocking,
yeah.
whatever it
I don't
is.
think we're
Yeah.
going to find out anytime soon.
No,
No.
no, I think this one could go for a while until they figure it out. But who knows?
Yeah, the last couple episodes, especially episode 3 this season, you had that poor girl in the tree. That was difficult to watch.
Yeah, yeah, there's some tough stuff here in this show for
Yeah.
sure. It's
Is it dumb that I was just happy that they got another medical person in there? I'm like, they need more than one person that knows what they're doing. And then you showed up, so
yeah,
there's at least two of you.
yeah, exactly. We'll have to see how that. I'm really curious to see how that unfolds and what the roles of the two of them have in the town, and how Marielle can be of service, and if
Yeah.
she's, in the state to be given
I
that
love
she's
the
a new
fact that you
person.
don't
And
really know either.
yeah,
I'm sure you know a little more than we do, but you don't have a
little bit.
like a real idea of where the character's going either, which is kind of neat. I kind of like that.
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, obviously we know as much as we shot this season,
Yeah.
but beyond that, it's truly a question mark. So
Have they talked about season 3 at all? Like when they'll start filming for that one?
I think we're waiting to get the green light still. I haven't heard yet for sure.
I'm sure it'll come through.
I know
There's
we're,
too big a following.
yeah, yeah, I hope so. And I know we're all excited to get back to work and be together again. And the Fromily hashtag is comes from a real state of affairs on our set and behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great cast. We had Hannah came on as well, and it's so well acted, you know, and it's got that good mix of like actors you recognize and then like up and coming actors that you can
Yeah.
kind of, you know, discover on the show, and it's a good mix.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. I think shows, especially with big ensemble casts, sometimes it's important to have a lot of folks who are new faces because it kind of
Yeah,
gives the story new life. Um, yeah, it's a nice thing. It's great for the Canadian um, community to have shows that are gonna hire a lot of Canadians and give them a chance, you know, because it doesn't always work that way. It's a totally different industry up here. So
yeah. Does the writing strike affect you in Canada like it does us here in the States?
it does for American shows shooting in Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Hopefully that's resolved fairly quickly, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, I just hope that the writers get what they deserve, you know. I
For
do
sure.
strongly believe that there's such a obviously an incredibly important part of the process. We wouldn't have anything without them. So, you know, sometimes the arrangements for these things don't evolve with the times as quickly, and all of a sudden we're in a world where things are costing so much and money's streaming into all these corners, and we need to make sure that everyone's getting
That's
their
right.
share given the work that they're doing, you know. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely important.
Oh yeah, it's
We have to
huge.
have our entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. No matter the
No
circumstance
matter
or
what.
this. Yeah.
And my wife added you to our Spotify playlist, so I'm sure your
Oh,
songs will be
cool.
popping up in there. I always play her songs from anybody that's coming on the show that's a singer, and you know, the one she likes, she puts on her playlist. So you're on there, so I'm sure I'll be
Oh,
hearing them
thanks.
pop up. She liked HeartSpeak. That
Hmm.
was one that she really liked, and there was you have one that's Desert something, but you like that one too.
Desert Storm.
Desert Storm, yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome. Thank
pretty
you.
good. Do you play any instruments?
I do. I play a lot of instruments on the record,
Yeah.
guitar and keys and bass and percussion. Usually live it'll be keys or electric guitar. I realize I'm much more into the groove than the rhythm.
Yeah.
If I try to play drums on my record, it doesn't usually. I call my friend who's very good at
Right.
it.
Get a
Yeah.
pro.
Yeah, get a pro, get someone who does the thing for sure.
I assumed you played piano since you've got one there in the background, but
Yeah, this is my little guy. It's actually I'm at my mom's house in my hometown, and she
oh,
has it
very
here.
nice.
Shipped it from Toronto. It was some producers from a film I did back in 2021 gave it to me because it was in the house on
Really?
set. I was like, "Where did you find this? I've been trying to find a piano this size for years." And they're like, "Well, take it. We're not going to use it after." So now
I mean,
it's
that's pretty
here.
nice. A lot of times you do stuff and you don't get anything from whatever show or movie you were in.
Yeah.
They gave you a piano.
No,
That's a big
they
deal.
gave me a little piano. Yeah, it's awesome. It's I think they're called princess pianos. They're like little mini
Oh,
stand-ups. So
very
good size.
nice.
But I rarely get to play it because I'm not here very often, but she's with me now, so a little out of tune, but that's okay.
We've got my mother played, and she had about that size of piano most of my life, and it just over the years got worse and worse in tune, and my father finally went and bought her a new, you know, new piano, and now it sounds great again. I was like, that's what you sound like. It's like
Mm,
there for a few years it was sounding a little rough, but it wasn't her. It was just the piano.
yeah,
It's gotten old. And they're not always easy to tune. You
no,
know,
it's
some
true.
pianos you can tune, they sound great. Other ones they try to tune them and it just never quite gets back the same sound.
No, it's true. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
I think this one could be. We got to get someone to come from out of town to do it. So,
yeah. That's
yeah.
usually at our house. We've got my wife's great grandmother's player piano,
Oh,
which is
wow.
awesome, except it weighs like 6 tons. You know,
Yeah,
like
they're
we had our
huge.
floors done and we couldn't move it. So we just had to have them done around the piano. That's why I said, if we ever leave the house, the piano's staying with the house because it's too heavy.
Totally.
Those things are just monsters. I'm not
They
even
are.
sure how we got it in the house. We did, but I don't know. They're so heavy.
Sometimes I wonder if the houses were built around those things.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Kaelen, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time. I'm loving your character on there. I think you're such a good actress. Hit and Run was awesome as well.
Thank you.
You know, I know you started a little late, so you're still fairly new to it, but it feels like you're just now starting to get rolling.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a genre that you haven't got to do yet that you'd like to do?
I'd like to do more drama that's just sort of rooted in, real story. And
yeah,
I do like some more like true crime type stuff.
Ooh, yeah.
True Detective, and HBO makes some material that I've just fallen in love with.
Oh yeah, they make some great stuff
over the years. Shows like I Know This Much Is True and Mayor of Easttown. That's kind of the world that I'm from. It's a little coal mining town that I'm from, and so I just get that world. And when I see shows like that, I really
we grew up in similar areas because that's West Virginia is a coal mining state, you know, and it's very sparsely populated. Like there's more people in LA than we have in the entire state of West Virginia. But great place to grow up. You know, small town, you can't beat it in some ways.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's a beauty to it, to growing up with a lot of freedom to run around and whatnot.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you're working on outside of the music that we can kind of keep an eye
out? That's the big one, starting next Tuesday, the 23rd of May. New video and song, and then sort of every few weeks until July 7th, and the record will be out July 7th. And there's a feature film I shot in 2021 that I think is actually finally coming out this year. And I know there's a name change, but it's a bit of a secret, and so have to wait and see. But other than that, I think just hoping to get back to work soon with the whole family. And yeah,
I love that. Okay, so last thing before we wrap up, where can we find you on social media?
My Instagram is my name, Kaelen Ohm, OHM. And what else? I don't really do TikTok. That's kind of the main one, I guess. And my music Instagram.
I'm surprised you don't do TikTok with the singing.
Yeah, there's just so many places you're supposed to. My life is better when I have no social media, so
all of us are.
I try to keep doing Instagram a little bit. Exactly. But yeah, Facebook is AMAARA Official, AMAARAOFFICIAL, and everything else is just Kaelen Ohm. For the most part, so pretty easy to find.
Do you write all of your own music?
Yeah, I write all the songs and the compositions and things.
Any desire to write like screenplay, anything like that, or a book?
Yeah, screenplays for sure. I have some things outlined at the moment that actually a month from today I have a little outline for a show due that I'm planning on developing. And I'd really like to, although I think it's similar to me for music, where I need people in the room, bodies to like keep me accountable and just have the ideas flowing. So I'd love to share a writer's table with some folks in the future and write some things for sure.
That's awesome. Well, Kaelen, you have to come back at some point, like maybe when the album comes out or your next big project. You got to come back and talk to us again. Give us an update.
Sure, my pleasure. I'll make sure that it gets to you when it's out.
Yeah, this has been a blast. Okay, hold on one second. All right, so Kaelen Ohm, really enjoyed that. She is so talented and absolutely killing it on From right now. So if you're not watching From, we're big fans, on this podcast. Definitely do yourself a favor and check it out. It is excellent. So creepy and weird. Obviously has some lost influences. Just really good. If you are a fan of From, then definitely check out our other interviews. We had Hannah and Chloe both from the show have been on the podcast, and they were terrific. I was fans of all three of them beforehand, bigger fans after speaking to each one of them. So please check them out as well. If you're finding us for the first time and you'd like to support us, we could really use the help. It's easy to do. It's free. All that we ask is that you subscribe. If you prefer to watch, it's on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. Just hit subscribe. If you prefer to listen, just wherever you're listening to your podcast from, just subscribe there. That'll help us as well. We've got, I think today I put out episode 580, which I can't believe, but we've been so blessed with the guests that we've had come on the show. All of those, audio and video, will be on our website, meistercon.com. It'll let you know if we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, whatever we have going on will be on the website, meistercon.com. So definitely check us out there. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Sorry we had a couple seconds there where we froze up. You may not notice it. You know, if our editing's really good, you may not notice it. But if you do have a couple of seconds of a frozen screen, that's what happened. That happens on occasion with Zoom. Appreciate you hanging in there with us. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.